Here, call the spaceships to Davenport. Prepare for divanarchy and interface with a couch in space. Oh, it is amazing to be here. It's also amazing to have DJ D4 too. First in the chat room, everybody check out MTV TV, which is of course a great show. But you're watching Space Couch now, so thank you for doing so. It's always great to be back. Sear Ranks on Twitch. What's up, brother? I'll tell you what's up because it's Space Couch time. We would not be flying around here in space without the help of our advertisers. Now, there was a point in time where I was like, maybe this thing is big enough I can get on stamps.com or Geico or any of the super annoying podcast ads you've heard a million times. But it's like, no, we're going to get the number. We're going to go right to the top. And, I applied and I made my case, and they decided to go with an unknown at the time show. But now that Space Couch is, pardon the pun, the cosmic entity it has become, we wouldn't have got there without the help of our advertisers. So thank you to our advertiser, our main one, of course, the one that's not coming up here on my hotkeys. There we go. Not that one. I wanted to talk about Tiger Squawk Records. You'll want to check out Lamentations from Same Story, available now. You'll also want to get Aeternus Memoria, 84 tracks. Sad Girls Club, Volume 6 from Italy. You'll also want to get Duality. That's me and definitely making a racket. You want to get Bounty is on Tiger Squawk now, the Grupner dichotomy. He named it after me. Grasp Logic's single Dark Romance, Grasp Logic's other single Echo Bot. You want to check out Batavia and their friends forever. You want to check out Blackness, the new offering from Light Ray out now at Tiger Squawk. Church of Bryantology Volume 2. And of course, It's My Life, as covered by our buddy Industrial, friend of the show. Pill Brigade is invading the arcade with their 3 singles. And of course, what I meant to show you is our patrons. Definitely what we love, Gozer Games, Jelly What, Lured by Radium, Dominic Pietro, Grim Reaper for a Hire, the Grim Love Hack and Slash, Bremily, Ray, Buddy, Fly Ahead, Walter Magoon, Hunt, Hench, and Hawk for the Ditch, and Lich. You can go to patreon.com/godsicles. Anything you can give us there helps out the show. I'm not saying it doesn't. But if you want to get on that list and get your name on Space Couch, that is reserved for the top level. Enough claptrap, because I am so excited about today's guest. We've known each other for a weirdly long time, and but I'm still excited because there's still a lot to learn on my end about this guy who's just fascinating. Let's stop beating around the bush and just bring him on in because this is going to be great. Ladies and gentlemen, Gopal Metro, I screwed that up. Wait, we got to get the applause effect. Gopal, what's up, buddy? How's it going?
Hey, how you doing,
I'm
Brad?
well. I'm hitting all the wrong buttons today. You and I. I think in our fervor to see each other on the screen may encounter technical difficulties left and right, but everything seems to be fine on the old flying couch today. So let's start with all things current because right now you're in. I can speak from personal experience. A very exciting chapter with Gopal Metro Studios. So
Yeah.
give me some of your bona fides, your bona fides for studio work, and what people might expect from Gopal Metro Studios as a service. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I've been mixing records or mixing in many different forms for about 20 years now. And I did a lot of live work, a lot of tour work as well. And you know, my passion, which should be pretty obvious, is goth and industrial.
Yeah.
And so like everything that I do is really focused on that sound, that niche market. And you know, like if you go to immediate pimping, if you go to gopalmetrostudios.com, you can go down and you can hear some of my favorite tracks that I've done. That includes Gasoline and Vertebrate.
Oh yeah.
You know, I love working with you. It's such a joy. And so yeah, if you're looking for somebody who understands the goth sound, the industrial sound, definitely hit me up, and I've got you covered.
Yeah. Well, as an unsolicited plug, I will say that it's amazing to know that like you're giving. If I give you a track to quote unquote produce, I'm handing my baby. I'm dropping it at the doorstep of someone that's going to take care of my baby. I don't have to explain how baby works. Like I work with a lot of producers, and sometimes you got to be like, yeah, a house, but not really. Like imagine if the house had very angry German men yelling over it. That's what it does. But you get it, and for a very reasonable rate, you don't run them through any sort of just sort of steam press. Here's your track. You really get into it. Explain to me what's done and what's did, and the track just comes back like sung by a chorus of industrial angels in the apocalypse. It's just the best. Sirik says, so when a Mike and Daw love each other. That's how he explained it to me, yes. So, I want to do one more lap around this because it's kind of a production is sort of a charged word. Like, so if I'm a guy and I'm slaving around in my Ableton and I come up with a track and I go, this is great, but I need some help. Let's call Gopal. Is that usually where you come in the process?
So I come in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I can, sometimes people come to me and say, produce the entire thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I custom create a track for them. They lay down the vocals, send it back to me, and and then, oftentimes, somebody will have something that's already in production, already in development, and they send it to me to just polish up the mix,
Mm-hmm.
or, do some sound design or something like that. And then I fire it back. I also do mastering, so they send me their final mix and I do that, full track out. So they send me each individual track and I mix it from the ground up. I also do business strategy and marketing strategy for independent artists as well. So like you develop a plan for a release. I think that mostly covers it. There are a couple of other things in there too. And as you said, I really give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
I really care about every track that comes through the door. It's not a printing press.
No.
I'm not firing things out. I really enjoy working with the artists, each and every artist, and really making certain that it works for them. Really making certain that it picks up their sound and lifts it to the next level.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And I'm not, for listeners. I don't. This isn't like an infomercial episode, but it's just I'm so excited as an artist. That feeling is invaluable. Of this guy really gave a damn. I mean, we were friends beforehand. It's not like you were coming in as an unknown quantity, but just to have that, like, just that almost like gratuitously pornographically good feeling of, oh, he listened and like tried, and not just like ran it through Lander and charged me an extra $20 or something. It's really great. I just wanted to toss that in for me and the work you've done on Gaslight and mastering for Tiger Squawk. You've done you made that album Sing. It's our own Syrinx. The chat room today was on that Chalk Jams cover that album mastered by our guest today on Space Couch. But not only in my world line, you are doing a little bit of the business end as well as the production for Can't Help Myself, which is great. Let's take a listen to just a clip of their new single. This is Can't Help Myself with Arachnophobia.
Well, I thought I'd live for the spider, but the truth is that I died, and every day the flames got brighter, and my body burned inside, burned inside.
We're back. I gotta take that off. It's not hypothetical spectacle time yet. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Right. That was Can't Help Myself with Arachnophobia. Tell me about this project and your involvement therein.
Yeah, so I late last year I decided that I wanted to put a group together, and it's sort of stepping outside of my realm, like for most of my musical career I was gothic rock.
Right.
That was it for me, and it still is. That's still my passion. I love the scene. I love what's going on. And Arachnophobia or Can't Help Myself, I sort of wanted to break out into the more indie alternative realm, and just see what happens when I step into that world. And so I put out a call for musicians, and
you do this from the ground up.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. This is yeah.
Okay.
And so I put out a call, and out of quite a few that answered, I met Astor and I met Dylan, and Forrest, the bassist, was one of my students.
Okay.
And so we all got together, and Arachnophobia was one of the early songs. I did a lot of the production and songwriting on that one. But it all came together and turned out beautifully.
Yeah.
And that just dropped on September 1st, and it's available on all streaming services. You can check it out. We're dropping a song a month for the next, indefinitely, I expect. But we've got 6 prepped right now. And so I do a lot of the songwriting on that. I do all of the production, all of the recording, all of the Dylan does some home recording, but I do all of the mixing, all the mastering for this project. Just played our first show. I'm not on stage. I keep saying our because I'm a part of it and it's my baby. But the band just played their first show September 2nd, and it was amazing. It was absolutely awesome. They own the stage.
Where are you out of?
That was in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm shaking the camera here.
It sounds good.
That was in Richmond, Richmond, Virginia, and it was like a metal show, like a hardcore metal show, and Can't Help Myself came in, and completely wildly different sound, and just rocked it, just absolutely. So that was very exciting. That was very cool.
Love that. I love that. So where should, like, Spotify, Bandcamp, does it matter to you where people go? Or
so Bandcamp is not up yet.
Okay, no Bandcamp, everybody. Just check out.
Yeah, no Bandcamp yet. We're getting there.
Okay.
A lot to do. But all the streaming platforms, Apple Music, all of
All
that
right.
stuff, you know.
So check
all
that
the,
out on Apple Music, other streaming
and
platforms.
Spotify, streaming like on Spotify. That's a
Streaming
huge
like on
focus.
Spotify. Can't help myself out of Richmond, spelled like you'd spell it. Produced, really helmed, I should say, by our guest today. So you just sort of had this nugget of an idea that, like, I'm going to, like, just put this together. It's not somebody coming to you. Okay. Wow. And you found like your singer, drummer, bass player, just on the Craigslist kind of thing. And
Yeah, Facebook.
all right.
Yeah.
So how's the sort of coach chair feel being on the front line for so long?
Yeah, I love it. You know, I absolutely love it. You know, it does tie into my past. You know, I've done this a few times.
Okay.
But you know, it's you know, I did this with Brighter Fires. I did it with Gilda Morn. But again, this is something outside of that realm.
Right.
This is something you know going in a slightly different direction.
Well, speaking of direction, I'm wondering if you can provide us with a little bit of some. I know this is your livelihood, so feel free to keep whatever trade secrets you want. But I was curious if there's any sort of general common mistakes you see from. I'll just go with dudes like me because, like, that's the world I know. Or I'll send you a multi-track and you'll be like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, you got to learn how to roll up the low end or whatever it is." Anything that you want to just sort of throw out into the universe as to anyone who does their own home production?
Yeah. First off, I'm always good to share.
Okay.
Like that is a big part of of what I believe in. I believe in building a strong culture
That's
of
awesome.
community and of, like, you know, supporting one another. So, you know, I'm always good to share. First off, when you hand me tracks, like, I know they're going to be good. Like, you've got a great ear, and I'm not kissing ass. I just know that you're going to hand them to me, and it's like I got something awesome to work with. The number one problem that I face when somebody sends me tracks, and it's easy enough to clean up, you know, but the number one issue is mud in the low frequencies, like you know, like these fat kicks that are just going, you know, and farting all over everything. Right. And you know, these in that like 150 hertz to like 350 hertz range, there tends to be a lot of just mud, and a lot of that comes from producing and mixing on small speakers, headphones. You know, like some of your common monitors, like the JBLs and the 3.8Ps, and you know, anything in that range has a tendency towards that low frequency mud. And if you want something to hit on the dance floor, you do not want that mud, right. You know, because it just farts everything out, and like it loses definition, and you feel it still, but it's not that like punch in the chest. You know, and you really want that kick to hit hard in the chest, so that, you know, that bass or sub bass to really have space to breathe and a lot of definition in it. So that would be my advice. Just watch out that, like, really pay attention to your meters. If you're mixing on small speakers, really pay attention to your meters in that area. Yeah.
I saw a shirt once that was just, it was the graph, like the low pass filter graph, and it just said low pass filter everything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless it's and then even then, exceptions abound, but generally speaking, unless it's like a bass synth or a kick drum, I just toss it right on everything.
I do it on the bass synth and kick drum.
Yeah.
You know, especially if like under 32 hertz, because I'm going to nerd out here for a second.
Please.
Most speakers don't reproduce in that frequency, but there's a lot of that frequency, especially in electronic music, and it's just wasted energy. You know, the speakers are trying to reproduce that sound, but they can't, and so it's just pumping out wasted energy, and it's preventing the coil from moving in a it's preventing that clarity that you want.
You're prevented by mechanical movement at some point.
Yeah, and like phasing does the same thing, where it, like, it really causes the speaker to fight
Mhm.
against itself, and it's just a waste of energy. And so you cut all that stuff out, and it really tightens things up. And like even on the kick and on the unless you're using like a sub bass,
Mhm.
like hip hop,
Right.
that
Yeah.
I tend to cut pretty aggressively on that low frequency
Pretty.
information.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you can open up the decay as much as you want, but I think the reality of our lives is that 99% of music is experienced through earbuds now anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I have a tendency, like, I'm going to mix this for the floor that I haven't been to in 6.5 years. What? Like, so yeah, test and test stuff on various speakers, of course. But
Absolutely.
that's a little bit more common knowledge than just low pass filter it, man. Just low pass filter it.
Yeah, and if you're, I mean, like I'm, this gets into it a bit too deep.
All right, well, we'll put it.
Treat your room, please. Just treat your room, and don't use foam. Like get yourself some nice sound panels. Treat your room.
Treat your room.
If you're serious about mixing, treat your room.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Metro, I've never done in on air request for a guest to come back. But I will do so for you because I want to hear more about treating a room and reading tweets, apparently, because that's on my mind. Coffee has yet to kick in. We're doing the Prince mug again today, which I've been doing a lot. We've touched on this before, but let's get into it. You obviously came into My World line as the bass player for I say with no hyperbole, seminal goth rock band Bella Morte. Giant fan. At one point in my life, I just had so much Bella Morte merch and stuff. And you guys got to a point where it's like you were like embodiment almost, like this goth incarnate for a lot of people. And I was just wondering, like you said, 20 years, like what you could speak to with your experiences in that world. And the question I've been playing with on the show recently is how you deal with that, like adulation. Like if somebody comes up and says, like, "Yo, you saved my life" or something. Wow, just
yeah.
So time on the scene and adulation process combined into one question.
So I'm not going to get into it too deep. There's a lot of charge around Bella Morte in my life.
Yes.
There's a lot of positive and negative. This conflict because of everything that went down,
Mm-hmm.
and how it all went down. But Bella Morte is a huge part of my life. It was core for me for over a decade, well over a decade, 15 years, active in one form or another. And it came from a really beautiful place. It came from a really like pure place. And we founded the band in 96. January of 96 is the official start date for Bella Morte. And it was my life. I just lived it. I lived the scene. Like every moment,
Totally.
I didn't go out of the house without dressing out. My mohawk
Right.
up, my makeup on,
Like you were the guy, like I'm saying.
It was my life. And I have so many fond memories of it, so much like joy around that experience. The rock star thing was never my scene. When I met people, and now to this day, we're on equal ground. Like everybody in my world is on equal ground. And
That's cool.
about respect too. Like when somebody comes to me and they say they had this experience, like, your music saved my life, which is such a crazy feeling. You know, I'm often at a loss for words, but I'm like, thank you, and I give them a big hug. And like, I'm so glad that what I've done has helped you in your life, and if there's ever anything I can do, please just let me know. And like, let's stay in touch.
Yeah,
let's be friends. Let's stay in touch. So that's yeah, like that's how it's been for me, is just being respectful, being honest, being kind, recognizing that everybody has their path and everybody's walking their road. And if there's anything I can do to help them on their way, like, I'm in, yeah. Does that answer your question?
No, it's great. Like, it wasn't a great question, to be honest, because I wasn't quite sure where to go with this. Because, like you said, there's charge around it, but I think, that's a great answer, man. And we can get into it. I have no feelings either way if people in the chat room or want to hear about that or whatever. But that's a great. I love that you are saying, like, yes, I will forever have been a major part of Bella Morte, and there's a lot of positive in it. It's taking reality.
It was my baby, man. Like we founded it together, and I named the band, like we wrote so much together, and like it's like Where Shadows Lie was the first song I ever wrote,
Really?
and like like that I wrote that about 6 months before Andy and I met, and like it sped up. I have to say, it's sped up like 40 beats per minute. I wrote it as this dirge, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And then it we sped it up into this like death rock track, and and like The Quiet as well, like that song, I remember sitting there with the keyboard and writing that song in the basement, and like Logic, and these songs all have like, they're a part of me, and there's no getting rid of them, and there's no matter what happens, that part of me is still alive, and it's still it's still a core anyway.
Well, yeah, man. No, that's great. That's kind of what I just wanted to hear your thoughts on an overview of that journey, because we're not going to not talk about it, or at least address it. I also wanted to ask you this sort of on a significantly less, I'm guessing, height at your own personal totem pole. You spent because that was the other band I was like super crazy into for a long time, Stromkern.
Yeah.
And then so when my two great musical loves crossed paths, that was Christmas Day for me. You did a tour with Stromkern as the sound guy.
Yes.
Which is the role of touring sound guy is always very niche and very overlooked to me. Like, I'm the drummer, and that comes with the whatever, and I'm the synth player, that comes with the whole thing. Singer, let's not even touch it. But there's the very singular role of the touring sound tech, and I was wondering if you have any tips for people that find themselves in that role. Like, do house people think you're getting on their turf, or do they want to be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm just going to go smoke this whole, like, how do you navigate that?
That really depends on the venue. I found that the smaller venues, sound guys tend to be a lot more aggressive, or sound people. They tend to be a lot more protective of their space. Okay. The bigger venues are used to it, because most touring acts in the bigger venues do bring their own sound crew. And so, the best way to navigate it is just be cool with people. Just like when you get to the venue, introduce yourself to the owner, introduce yourself to the sound guy or sound person, and and just get to know them and say, hey, listen, I appreciate the work that you're doing. This is my experience. This is why I'm here. Would you show me your gear?
Oh wow.
Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, like show me your equipment, because you've taken time to learn it. You've taken time. Oftentimes they've built the rig, so like show
Genius.
me what you're doing here, like let's work together to make this the best show possible,
Yeah.
um, and with yeah, I over the years, like I've done sound for the Crusados, I've done sound for Strom Current. I've over the years, it's been pretty straightforward. It's like
Well,
you just be cool, and people are cool with you. So
I'm laughing a little bit because it's that answer is so simple and so genius at the same time. It doesn't need to be that hard. I've just, I've been in industrial music my whole life, so I've seen this fight played out 1,000 times. It's like, I know, no, I do. I'm the sound guy, and it's like, well,
yeah,
you both have a lot to learn from each other, and just be cool and like, let's say one of you wins. Okay, great. Virus 23 has a wonderful night at Scoreboards in the back here in Poughkeepsie on a Tuesday. Like, if the stakes are so low, just I'm not decrying it, but why have that battle especially when you don't need to by the forethought and personality and personability exhibited by our guest today. Just be cool. Ask them to show you the equipment. Speaking of getting zen, let's go all the way back. You like that one? In your superhero origin story. Superhero origin story might be a weirdly applicable phrase here. You were raised in an ashram,
yeah,
briefly trained to be a monk,
yes,
and also teach yogic philosophy.
yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Let's start at the start of that.
It was cool. So my folks got into transcendental meditation in the 60s. They met my teacher, Swami Satchidananda, in around the same time, a couple years later. I was born and raised in something called the Sangha, right, which is like a community of like-minded spiritual seekers, right? And so when I was 2, we moved to the ashram, and the ashram is an intentional community of like-minded people who are pursuing a similar spiritual goal, right? That's a sort of rough end of it. And the culture, it's called Yogaville, literally Yogaville.
Okay.
And the yoga village, right?
Yeah.
And it the culture here, the whole, it's called integral yoga, the yoga that's practiced. And the foundation of integral yoga is the saying, truth is one, paths are many, right? So we're all walking this world together, right? Everybody's walking their own path. You set a Christian and a Christian in the same room from the same denomination. You say, tell me, what does it mean to be a Christian? They're going to tell you completely different things, right? Buddhist and Buddhist, same story. Like Hindu and Hindu, same story, right? So we're all walking our own individual path. Agnostic and agnostic, same story, right? We're all walking our own path. But when you break all of us down to our component parts, right? Like from a scientific, well, I guess it is, I don't need the quotes. From a scientific perspective, when you deconstruct us down to atoms and molecules and molecules and atoms and take it all the way down to the root, we're all made of the same stuff.
Okay.
So what is the point of like fighting against each other? What is the point of arguing against each other? What is the point of creating conflict, especially surrounding spirituality? Like, why do we start wars over spiritual ideas? What is the point of this? And that what is the point of this is actually a really big question that all of the yogic philosophy is dedicated to exploring, right? Dedicated to exploring. So when I was growing up, I was saturated in this culture. It, as like when I was around 6 or 7 years old, I was trained to be a youth ambassador for world peace.
Wow. No pressure.
So, yeah, right. So I met with dignitaries and I met with like all of these leaders and like me and my fellow students, we all did this together. It wasn't just me, but we all did this together. And as I got older, there was this opportunity to train as a monk, and so I did a lot of meditation when I was growing up, like a huge amount of meditation when I was growing up, and um, uh, a lot of asana. So like what most people in the United States call yoga is actually hatha yoga, which is the physical aspect of yoga. The stretching and the balancing and all of that is hatha yoga. And so I did hatha yoga every day and learn different ceremonies and rituals like puja, which is like celebrating, inviting. I hate to use the word God because it's so charged, but inviting God into your home, and then entertaining God. So feeding, dressing, bathing, like bringing this divinity into your house, this divine energy into your house, and then just spending time with it, basically, just like chilling with this idea of God, this concept of God. So that was cool. I learned a lot about a lot of different stuff. We studied, Jain, Hinduism, Sikhism, Judaism, Christianity, Taoism, Buddhism, Native African faiths, Native American faiths. We studied all of these different world religions, and so I am familiar with most of them and have a deeper understanding of some of them.
And how old are you at this time?
What's that?
How old?
So that was from about 4 years old to about 13 years old, 14 years old.
So you're what me and I'm assuming most of our viewers experience as elementary school to middle school was this.
Yeah.
Did you go to traditional middle school?
No, we went to it's sort of a glorious name. We went to the Temple of Learning, the Yogaville Vidyalaya,
wow.
and which was a one-room schoolhouse.
Okay.
But it was a cool one. And my teachers were like all college level professors, or many of them were college level professors. So we were taught from a very young age molecular physics and quantum physics, and we were there was this respect for children where children were viewed as fully fledged humans, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, oh, that's a baby human. It was like, no, these are people, and we respect them and teach them and trust that they have the capability to learn. And kids do. I'm raising my son the same way, and he's able to grasp these advanced concepts, quite easily when they're presented to him in a manageable way.
An early guest of the show was a cameo by Kai here on the
Yeah, so that was it was very cool. When in 1987 I was 10 years old. Mm-hmm. I saw the Sisters of Mercy on MTV.
Is that what did it?
And completely fell in love. Yeah. And then a friend of my sister's gave me a cassette that had Einstürzen to Neubauten and Severed Heads on it. And that also just like blew my brain. Just like, what?
Yeah.
And so I started down my musical path right at that point. And
Severed Heads was a big one for me too.
Who was?
Severed Heads was like
so good, good. Coming from Big Bigot, like Bad Mood Guy.
But dude, Bad Mood Guy. Sorry, I mean, like it just I got excited.
No,
it was one of those like I was almost sad meeting that like, oh, the journey's over now. Like I know I found my path. Like okay, this is like super laser focus industrial, and then. Yeah, a friend of mine gave me a 90s mixtape with Neotech and Front 242 on it, and then that was shooting up, done. But that is my history. We're getting back to you.
No, I love it.
You're raised in a very unique environment to about 13.
I was there until I was about 18, until Bella Morte.
Wow, is that so?
Yeah, but I like transferred into public school, and that was just like horrible culture shock.
That's
just
where
like,
I was going with it. Like,
yeah, and I ended up like turning down a really dark road.
Really?
I became suicidal and I started doing a bunch of drugs and um, just ended up in a really bad way.
Right.
And when I was 16 and a half, I told my parents I'm not going back to that school. Like, there's no way that you can't force me to go back. Like, I'm done.
You're navigating this at 16 when you know you're basically a wet bag of hormones.
Yeah, it was a bit messy, and my father took on a third job so that he could pay for the tuition for me to go to a private school.
Get the fuck out! Wow.
It was really incredible. I didn't know it at the time. I found this later. And I ended up transferring to this private school in Charlottesville, Virginia, and it was that completely changed my life. It knocked me out of that really messy realm and into this much more positive, productive and healthy environment. So that was good. That was good.
Okay, so you have this pretty gnarly educational journey. Not all bad, but definitely there's a lot around it, and it's still what you do now professionally. And we'll get into the profession of it, but now I'm just fascinated. Like, you have all this knowledge, and to say nothing of the experience by which that knowledge was acquired. It's a difficult question to even ask, because it's like, fish have no concept of water because they live in it. But what, sort of seeing at least the public school world, or how the other half lives, like, can you assess what that because this is not only a music show, when you write music or even produce, like, how does that manifest, like that life experience in music, if it does at all?
My upbringing,
yeah,
every aspect of it. Like in the early days of Bella Morte, for me, composing music was about trust, trusting myself, right, to step into the zone and to let it flow. And so that was a big thing for me. On how to capture a mood, on how to capture something that I'm feeling, and I'm really proud of what we did. I recognize that music is not for everybody. It's like, but it definitely was a stamp of my life at that point in time. It was definitely, I was there was always this sort of mystical element that came into what I was producing. As Heaven Sang or Neverland or some there was often this sort of, I like the Fae, right? Was a huge part of like my storytelling.
Well, I mean,
time. And like
fairy tales being more or less the basis of your other project, Guild of Morn. Certainly, yeah.
And then songs like A Dying World, right? Where, it's the story of the end of the world, and and still I have a smile, right? And still I'm sitting here, and like all this crap, bombs are dropping, and like I'm sitting here appreciating the beauty of it all, even though it's complete chaos and death, right? Beautiful death, right? The whole point of that was
well done.
The whole reason, that came, that unended that was this understanding that that there is beauty in this incredible darkness, that there is beauty in all of this loss and all this suffering that we're experiencing on a daily basis, and if we take the time to pause and appreciate it for what it is, right?
Wow.
I'm not celebrating death per se, but I am appreciating the beauty of death. The beauty that happens in that process.
Does that relate back to that concept of just sort of chilling with the divine, where you're just sort of looking at this thing in your hand, like, this is what it is? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I had never thought along those lines, but yes, it definitely does. It definitely has. There are a couple of beautiful meditations, and some of the Buddhists, a death meditation, they would go into the cemetery where the freshly where the fresh bodies are lying out on the stones on the ghats, and they would sit and meditate on their chest.
Wow.
They would sit on the chest of the dead body and meditate, right? Just to be there in that space, and that practice always had a significant influence on my experience.
That's dude, amazing. I just being such a Bella fan for so long, I thought it was just like a cool sounding like goth thing, like Beautiful Dead. He does what it says in the tin, but I didn't know it had such a background in sun salutations. That's that's amazing. I'll do one circle back because you teach philosophy. Is that something you want to plug? Can we take those classes online?
Sure. Yeah. It's not. I don't have any online classes.
Okay.
I do one-on-ones. And so if you're interested, please do feel free to reach out. My primary focus right now is Raja Yoga, which is the study of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is like this guidebook of yoga, right? And it's all about how we as individuals interface with the world around us, right? So what is the experience of us right now, and how I was just we do a podcast. My sister and two of the other folks who grew up in Yogaville, we do a podcast every Saturday night.
Your podcast.
Yeah. So it's called The Golden Present, and each week there's a book written by Swami Satchidananda that's a daily aphorism, and so we pick the aphorism for that day, and we just discuss the nature of it and our experience with it and how it impacts our lives.
All right, give me that podcast name one more time.
It's called The Golden Present.
The Golden Present.
And it's on Solve. And if you stay posted to my Facebook feed, I send out links.
Okay.
Every week. So as far as teaching goes, so the Raja Yoga is the study of the mind, right? And so we're sitting here and we say, oh, this is the world, right? This is the world. This is how it is, right? But what it really is our perception of an experience, right? And so every thought that we have directly influences our experience of the world. Like right now, I could say, you're an asshole. And that would be my experience of you.
You wouldn't
or I
be
could
wrong.
say, you're the coolest person in the world, and that's my experience of you, right? And our thoughts are constantly defining our experience of reality. Every moment, our thought directly creates our experience of reality. So that's pretty fun.
So for further meditations, do you only do those in person then?
No, I can do it online.
All right, sick. So if you want to reach out to our guest, should they just do that at the Facebook feed here, or we can post a link?
Yeah, hit me up. I can't track the feed. So just DM me.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, that's the Space Couch difference. We let you DM our guest and set up some more meditations on his thoughts around philosophy. I am certainly intrigued. We are on a rogue flight path that's coming back into the station in just a bit. I do need to ask. At one point years ago, we were talking chip tunes. I doesn't need to be that, but I was just wondering. And you sort of already answered this question. I didn't know the level to which you were already involved in the songwriting of "Can't Help Myself," available now on Spotify. But I was wondering if there's anything in the clip for the mighty Gopal Metro under your name or in whatever other music.
Yes. So I don't have a ton going on. Can't Help Myself is my primary focus. Gopal Metro Studios and Can't Help Myself are my main. That's where most of my energy is going right now. I do still have a closet with a C64 audio modded dual SID. I still have a Atari 400 that I've upgraded RAM and like done the whole thing pro audio mod S video. I've got MIDI nests. I've got a Jenna DM, and I've got a lot of stuff. The biggest problem I found, Game Boy Advance, I got it all. But the biggest problem I found is they're just so wicked unreliable. It's just, and the limitation is fun, sometimes having that limitation, but it's so frustrating when you have to spend 4 hours like troubleshooting a circuit when all you want to do is just write a song.
I had Space Couch has influenced my life in so many ways because these guests just give me great little nuggets. I had a noise gabber industrialite dummy plug machinery on here who has 1,000 kids and very busy man. And I said, "How do you do it?" And he goes, "Gear slows you down. Anytime you use gear, you're slowed down. Just go VST." I'm like, "Wow, you just say it. Gear always slows you down. Sometimes it's worth it, but
it can be. It can be. You get some really cool stuff out of it.
I can tell you from personal experience, I keep one hand on the reset button whenever I'm using MIDI Nest because I know I got about 30 seconds. I gotta go before it just shits the bed. So you're not wrong. It's a pain to set up, but I will advocate with my amazing. See the gravity I have. The emotional gravity I have is focused by the space gravity I have from being this far out into the cosmos. So I would like to advocate for future work from chiptune work from Gopal here.
So I have moved to VST.
Insidious
is amazing, and like what is it called? From Plogue, their Super Nintendo one and their
great.
Genesis one I can't remember the names of them right now,
Plogue
but they're awesome.
stuff.
They're great. I love them. There are a couple of others that I'm using right now. I'm blanking on them right now, but I do it at home for fun for me, but I haven't released anything. So,
well, put out some demo stuff. I would be over the moon to hear anything. I will say that
if it comes out, it's under Nope Raptor's head. So there you go.
It's what?
Nope Raptor's head. Did you ever play Legacy of Kain? Blood Omen?
No.
Oh my god, dude! Great game.
I've only heard good things. My wife is a fan. The band is Can't Help Myself. Gopal Metro Studios. Check out the upcoming Gasoline Invertebrate track Crow Broker. That is the first you're hearing of it now, but produced by our guest. He knocked it up 18,000 billion notches. I counted 18,000 billion on the dot, weirdly.
We got a special guest coming in here. Come
hey.
on. You got it.
All right. Well,
come say.
Okay, you can say it. Hey, buddy, what's up? Thanks for coming back to Space Couch. We are closing out the show. Do you have any closing thoughts here?
Just happy to hear from you.
Awesome.
Reach out.
Awesome.
Anybody.
That's great. You are welcome back to Space Couch anytime, man. Thanks again for that Crow Broker work. Thanks again for coming down. Aggro Fist in the house. Yes. Well done, Sirix. This is Brian for Space Couch for Gopal Metro Studios for Can't Help Myself saying, call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for a div anarchy, and interface with a couch in space. Space Couch out. Excellent. Yes, I let us talk over the no, that's cool. I got a lot out of your origin story, and I think we had great information out of people in general vis-a-vis production work, so I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate it a whole lot.
Yes! And if you're still listening, that's patreon.com.